Hi, I'm Stan Buford in the Talk Pod. The other day, I was trying to explain to my grandson how the United States works. This is probably where John Rothman steps in and explains it very well, but I tried, and I ended up using an analogy, and it goes something like this. Think of the United States as a company, as a corporation, because a lot of people understand how business works, so maybe if you understand how business works, you have a better idea of how the United States kind of works itself. So give this a try. We'll call it USA Incorporated. Now, USA Incorporated, by the way, is a fairly old company. It's, over 200 years old. It had founders a long time ago. They had these ideas. They kind of put them down on paper, some goals and rules of operation and what have you. Yeah, they've been modified over a period of time with what they called amendments, but basically they're still the goals and the rules. Now, like a good corporation, there's a CEO at the top and kind of runs things from the CEO chair. And in case he's out of town, there's a vice CEO, if you will, a president, vice president kind of arrangement. Now, influencing kind of both of them and their operation is a board of directors. There's a legal department. There's an accounting department. There's a security department. There's a little marketing and advertising, but it's really not an official department, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The board of directors, we call it Congress, the House of Representatives, and the senators, if you will. Now, the board of directors, they kind of decide what the company is supposed to be doing, and then the president, CEO, if you will, kind of directs how it's done in a manner of speaking. And sometimes there's conflict between the board of directors and the president of the company, so they take it to the corporate legal office, and they try and say, well, what does the law say, and what can we do, and what can we not do? And, of course, the corporate legal office is what we call the Supreme Court. The accounting department has a lot to do with what you could do and what you can't do because you need money to spend to buy things. And so they kind of tell you, well, you've got X amount of dollars, and if you need more, well, there's a way of getting it, by the way. It's called the IRS, and it's a strange arrangement, if you will, because in a company you have stockholders, and in the USA Incorporated you have shareholders, if you will. Although, interestingly, through the accounting department, they charge you a fee. It's sort of like a condo fee, take care of the roof and the driveway and make sure the plants are all taken care of. So you pay your condo fee, if you will, and with that money, they go to the board of directors and they tell them, well, you've got X amount of dollars to do that program. You told the president and CEO that you wanted done, and it goes around and around like that. There's a security department. Of course, large corporations, generally speaking, need a kind of security department. We call it the Armed Forces, of course, with the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, and 14 others out of the alphabet soup can. They kind of operate on the outside edges, internally as well, in the company offices and around a lot of the buildings and stuff, to make sure that the company is run and is safe and nobody gets away with stealing a desk or something. Not always. Things do leak out individually here and there. Now, back to the board of directors, or Congress, if you will. What's interesting about USA Incorporated, it's a very big company, as I said, and it actually covers over 3 million square miles. That's a large company. There are 318 million people who live in that area. So there's a lot of things to tend to. Now, interestingly, not only is there the one company called USA Incorporated, but there are 50 different franchises. Now, these are very much like USA Incorporated, except they're smaller, and they kind of tend to their own little problem area. Now, they too have a CEO and a board of directors and a legal department and security and accounting and all of that. And they kind of work in a cooperative sense, mostly with USA Incorporated, because the 50 franchises are just sort of a little part of the bigger US Incorporated. Now, a lot of people in businesses They have, people knocking on the door that say, I'd like to sell you paint. How about a truckload of pencils? That would be the sort of outside influence coming into the board of directors. Now, we obviously need the paint and the pencils and a few other things, so they kind of listen to what these other people have to say, and sometimes, when they make decisions and tell the president that, we need to build a bridge, but make sure you use the steel from that company because, it's really good steel. Or, buy these pencils because they're really good pencils. Well, it's outside influence. And as I was explaining all of this about how the U.S. works, and if you make it look like a company, I thought, you know what? I'm going to write this all out on a piece of paper, and I'm going to look at it. I'm going to see the board of directors, corporate legal, accounting. Marketing and advertising, I said, was separate. I'll get to that in a second. And security. I wrote it all out, and I looked at it, and I thought, wow, this is really screwed up. Well, anyway, marketing and advertising is not part of USA Incorporated. It's really kind of clever. The people in the accounting department or corporate legal or the board of directors or over in security, if they want some advertising so that the shareholders will find out what's going on, they kind of call what we call the media. And they say, that's happening, and that's happening. And you go, ooh. And then it gets into newspapers, maybe, or a magazine or books sometimes, radio and TV, and nowadays podcasts. And the information kind of sneaks out. So the members of the stockholder group and also members of the other 50 franchises find out through the media what the big USA Incorporated is doing. Now, what's changed a little bit is newspapers and magazines and books and radio and TV are beginning to be all owned by one of 7 or 8 major companies. Companies not unlike USA Incorporated. So they have their own special interests, and you don't always necessarily hear about things that you think you would like to hear about because it's not in the interest of those companies. But that's not the case with podcasts. I wonder if they'll ever catch on. I'm Stan Buford in the Talk Pod.